I was telling Moira, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen an interview with Beyonce, and she says, you know, she turns into Sasha Fierce on stage. And then after, like, I've interviewed her before, and I'm like, oh my God, Beyonce, you kicked off your shoes and you rolled around on the floor. She's like, girl, I do not remember. That was Sasha Fierce. So I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just call her Tyresha.
Tyresha, I love that.
Yeah, we don't know what Tyresha's gonna do with Moira. We'll see.
Well, let me know when she comes out, because that'll be pretty fun. I'll just pretend I'm Beyonce though instead. I want to start off, Tyra, because a lot of people, when they talk about your career, they call you a supermodel turned businesswoman. And one of the things that I found so extraordinary is that in your earliest days as a model, so young, you were a businesswoman in the modeling industry. Your first Paris season, you booked 25 shows, which was a record.
Yep.
But can you talk about the way in which you took this strategy into modeling and how it set such a foundation for you and the empire that you've built?
Yeah, so when I decided to do this whole modeling thing, I was on a path of going to university. I wanted to be a film and television producer, got accepted to every university I applied to. 2 weeks before the first day of school, I get discovered to go to Paris. And I had to make a decision. Am I going to go to school or am I going to go to Paris? I actually spoke to the university and they said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and why don't you try it for a year, and if you come back in a year, we'll give you some credits if you can prove you speak some French, and you'll have a place here. So my decision was made. But then my mama said, okay, you took the SATs and the ACTs and you studied, and I am not going to let your butt go to Paris without studying France. And I don't mean French fries. And so I studied Moira. I went to the fashion library that I found in the Yellow Pages. For all you young people, the Yellow Pages was a book before the internet. And you opened up this book. I mean, it was like a weapon. It was just big. Like you could just throw it at somebody and like win.
It was a weapon.
What I mean?
It was a weapon.
Big, right? It was big. And I looked and I found a fashion library. And I went to that fashion library, and that fashion librarian showed me all of these tapes. Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent, Dior, like all the French fashion people. And then I studied the videos of how they walked. And then I took that home, and my mom would watch me. And I noticed that for Yves Saint Laurent, they walked very, classy and had their hair in a chignon, which is a bun in the back, slick back, and red lipstick. And Karl Lagerfeld with Chanel was playful and with pearls and happy. And so when I went to Paris, every single time I had an audition or a casting, I changed my hair and makeup in the alley in the back, and I walked specifically for how those designers presented their collections. And because of that, I broke history at that time, first model to book 25 fashion shows her first season.
Which is extraordinary. Yes. Just one of many things that you've done to break history. But what I find so remarkable is that you took that strategy and that preparation and you applied it in such a rigorous way, which I think speaks so much, not just to the longevity of your career within modeling, but also the ways in which you've continued to build on that success and build this incredible empire. But you started in an industry which I think is fascinating because it's an industry that has a shelf life, industry where no other industry, well, maybe a little less so now with tech and things like that, but no other industry really where youth is prized more than experience. Experience is a liability. And one thing that really struck me is you decided to take a step back from modeling. You made the choice at the height of your career, leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yes.
Walk us through how you laid the groundwork for that decision and what brought you to that point where many people may have just hung around as long as they could. Literally, you hang on.
Yeah. Well, my mother, she made a point one season in Paris, fashion shows. She said, look around, Ty. Where's this model? Where's this one? Where's this one? This one was the talk of the season 3 seasons ago. This one was hot 2 seasons ago. This one was hot now. Where are they? They are no longer the flavor of the season. And she said, and one day that will be you.
Were you ever sensitive to that?
Hell yeah, I thought my mama was hating. I was like, wait, why are you gonna say this? Everybody wants me in their fashion shows. What are you talking about? Like, I really did not understand.
You didn't see your own expiration date.
I at that moment, I didn't, and I didn't understand. You know, I went from like obscurity, this girl from Inglewood, California, to everybody wanting me on their runways and covers of magazines and stuff. I was like, what are you talking about? But then I really listened to my mom and took a step back and said, no, this is tough love. And she said, you know what? I think you need to think about leaving fashion before it leaves you. What is your plan? And I can remember many years later, I was a Victoria's Secret model, and I had 3 years left on my contract. 3 years. And I lost sleep for months because I didn't have a plan. That's how far I was playing chess, but I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was going to do. And Moira, the plan came, and I was like, I'm gonna be a singer. Woo, I'm gonna be a singer. You know, I know how to move, I know how to dance, I know how to shake it. I can't really sing that much, but that's okay. I'm gonna be a singer. And I tried to do that, and I secretly was studying singing for 6 years. I had some of the best managers in the world that managed Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and all of that stuff. And then one day I just woke up and said, nah, I don't have that gift. I can fake it, I can do auto-tune in a studio, but I'm authentic and I live my truth, and that is not my gift. My gift is my voice, but the gift to talk, I guess y'all can tell I like to talk. And so I put talk show too. Yeah. So I put the singing on the shelf forever and said, I'm gonna do a talk show.
But I want to drill down on that a little bit further, because it's one thing to spend that much time, and again, the through line of preparation and the hard work on a career, and waking up and saying, this isn't right.
Yeah.
After already having had a really incredibly successful career, one of the most successful careers in the industry, how did you think about where you wanted to apply your time, and how did you think about your talents as it related to building another career?
Yeah. In that singing transition, I had access to some of the biggest producers in the world. I did a song with Wyclef. Pharrell wrote a song for me. I had all of this amazing access, but then I would get in the studio, and you guys know, like a recording studio, the singer's in there, and then there's like glass, and you see the producer on the other side, and I'm looking at Pharrell, and all his friends and posse are looking at me through the glass, and I would just be like, I couldn't get the words out of my body. They were stuck. And I think it was a combination of just nerves, but also ability. And I remember a little bit after that, Oprah Winfrey had something called a Legends Ball. And it was a whole weekend where she had what she called the legends at the time. You know, Patti LaBelle, Rosa Parks, Coretta Scott King, Gladys Knight, Naomi Sims, Iman, like fashion and acting and singing and like the legends. And then she had something called the Youngins, which she said were the legends of the future. And it was me and Mariah Carey and Alicia Keys and Halle Berry. And I remember she did a Sunday gospel brunch, and B.B. Winans and a bunch of other gospel people were on a stage, and they were singing this song, He Changed Me, He Changed Me. And then they started passing the mic through the audience. Gladys Knight stood up, He Changed Me, Patti LaBelle killed it. Everybody was so amazing. And I said, if I had a song on the radio right now, they would have passed me the mic, and it would have been a hot mess. And that was the moment that I said, this is not happening. I'm going to do a talk show. And at that moment, I felt like, when I said I'm going to do a talk show, I was a model. I gained a lot of weight over the years, and so I couldn't fit into those skinny high-fashion clothes. And it wasn't diverse like it is today. You had to be a size 0, and I was a 4. Woo, that was big. And then I turned into 6. Woo, real thick. And I was an 8. Ooh, damn, she real big. And so I had to figure out how to pivot my career, or else I would have been expired. So then I transferred to Sports Illustrated, Victoria's Secret, all that type of stuff. But it was very sexy, right? It was very sexy. Let's keep it real. I had my panties on the runway. You know, it was real sexy. And I didn't feel like, Moira, I didn't feel like I could be taken seriously or even take myself seriously, being a fashion model, and it was time to change. It was time to pivot again.
Did you fear that change and that pivot? Was that something that intimidated you? And did you have self-doubt?
No, I didn't have self-doubt. I was so sure, like so sure. And in hindsight, I think I might have still continued to model for 3 years. I felt at the time that I wouldn't be taken seriously, but if I really think about it and think about the money I left on the table, I could have waited 3 more years, but I decided to leave. But everybody always tells me, girl, that was the deciding moment at that moment, and that was right. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, dang, I think I could have still had some angel wings on for a couple of years and had a talk show. Not sure. So super, super, super sure, but a little bit of regret after.
What's one piece of advice? We have so many people in this room who have launched their own businesses, who have transformed their careers, extraordinary career pivots and chapters. Given these really, really defining moments you had in terms of the directions that you took, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who is wrestling with similar types of challenges or opportunities, but they're not necessarily sure if they should hit that button?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I say, so I've taught personal branding at Stanford's Business School, the Graduate School of Business, and for 3 years. I missed 2 years because of COVID. But and the first day of my class, I tell my students that different is better than better. That you can't just have a product or a service or an offering that's better, because somebody can easily just copy that, and those are just minute differences. But what can you do? I'm sorry, minute, like, a little bit better. But when you're different, that is an open sea that you are creating to make people copy you. And that's how you stand out in the marketplace. And if you can't make it different, go back. Keep going back to that drawing board and figuring out what those differences are. And when I think about my own career, that's what made me stand out. It wasn't just studying how to walk for Karl Lagerfeld or studying how to walk for Yves Saint Laurent. I studied and then I did it my way. Sometimes it got me in trouble because I did a little too much on the runway, a little Sasha Fierce, a little Tyresha. But it was my differentiation that helped me to break through.
If this differentiation and really authentically owning this uniqueness is something that has come through time and time again in your career, I want to switch gears to, I started to sort of talking about the fact that being a businesswoman was inherent to your work as a model.
Yes.
But you have really continued to build this empire of brands and different businesses throughout the course of your career. Can you talk to me about the steepest learning curve you had transitioning from the world of entertainment into really rigorously learning about and building these businesses?
Yes. So I knew that I had an inherent gut for business.
How did you know?
Just based on the decisions that I made throughout my career, but I knew that those decisions and that gut was not going to take me to the next level in traditional business. I knew it was helpful for me as a personal brand, but when I wanted to create product and go beyond that, I needed something else. And so I said, it took me forever to get back to school, but I applied to Harvard Business School's Owner-President Management program. And I don't know, it was like 10 years ago, I think, is when I went there. And Moira, it changed my life. It opened my eyes up to, wow, my instinct was so right on that. I was so right. And wow, my instinct was so wrong on that. And that's why I made those mistakes. I met friends there that I met my best friend there, who I met my man, he's somewhere in the audience, through my best friend from there. And to this day, I actually have taken what I've learned from those professors and now teach it at Stanford from what they've taught me. So that education was really, really, really important. And without it, I don't think it would have been able to even launch my ice cream company now.
I want to talk about next year ice cream company because I do think it really brings to life so many the dimensions of the creative side, the branding, and the business acumen that you've built. But one question for you, coming from the world of entertainment, you talked about your walking down a runway in your underwear, right? Sports Illustrated, this career in modeling, and while I'm sure many people in business appreciated those images for different reasons, at different points in your career, did you feel like you were underestimated
Yes.
in business because of that? Was it a liability?
So early in my career when I would, because as a model, I would still even do talks like this, because, I was still, business, but with modeling. And they would ask me about challenges of being a woman. And I honestly could not answer that question, because in the fashion industry, a female model at the time, I don't know if they may compare it to a man today, but at the time I was making 10 to 20 times more than a male model was. So we were the powers that be. It was flopped. I'd be next to this male model and he'd be like, you're making 20 times more than me. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know, boo. I know. Fight for your power, boo. So I knew. But when I transitioned to business, it was a totally different thing. Not only was I fighting against being a fashion model, which they thought was vapid and dumb and that all of my success was luck, I was also fighting with being a woman in a man's world. And on top of that, being a Black woman. So I was a triple minority, fashion model, woman, and Black woman. And to this day, it's still not easy. I have male friends and I see their presentations that they are giving to different investors, and it's crap. It's thrown together. They don't have product market fit, just a mess. And they're like, oh, here's $20 million, this is $100 million. And then I come in and they're like, oh, that's really, really nice. But I don't know, we'll come back in a couple years. I'm like, are you serious? Do you see my product market fit? Do you see that I've had one of the most successful reality shows in the history of television's existence? So it's very interesting that I'm living that now. But I'm glad I'm living that now, because I am fighting so that you guys don't have to fight as hard. So the doors that I'm fighting and opening, I always say, as a model, when I was a Black model, I'm getting the cuts, I'm getting the scrapes, I'm getting all that pain. And now I see other Black models walking through that door easier because of that pain. And I see that now as a Black female, former fashion model entrepreneur, so that y'all ain't gotta hurt as much.
So there is a purpose to that pain in terms of it.
And I have to remember it. And Moira, do you know what I say? I mean, just even last month, I'm crying about stuff with work and business and just stress. Like, as strong as I look now, like, I have moments when I am devastated. But one thing that drives me is I was like, ooh, I cannot wait for the keynote to be able to tell this story. Or I cannot wait, being in a classroom and teaching wherever in the world and to tell my students this story. And that's what helps me to go forward, that I'm gonna learn and then teach.
I feel like if you have a bad thing or a tough challenge in life, it's worth it if you get a good story out of it.
Totally, right?
Then it's worth it. Otherwise,
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, that was just painful. But if you get a good story out of it, others can benefit from it. I want to shift gears to your latest business venture, Smize Cream.
Yes.
For anyone in the room who doesn't know what Smize means, a term you coined, can you just tell people?
Yeah, I coined a term called the word smize. So I'm not obsessed with the fashion industry so much, but I am obsessed with making women the best versions of themselves. So, showing you how to get the best photo or do a smoky eye and making you feel like amazing inside and out. And so I came up with this term, smizing, or to smize, which means to smile with your eyes. And then I started using it on my television show, America's Next Top Model. America's Next Top Model shows in 180 countries, so Smize was in 180 countries. Then we have 45 international versions, so even those international versions started saying Le Smize or El Smize, or, so just from all over the world. And so I love it. It's something that gives me joy. And I decided to name my passion. I am obsessed with ice cream, especially over quarantine, COVID, where I just would sit in the bed and eat a whole pint. And
that's single serve. I call that single serve. A pint.
Single serve.
Single serve.
And actually 15 years ago, I wanted to go into the ice cream business around the same time as the singing, actually. And I put both of those on the shelf, singing forever on the shelf, ice cream business plan on the shelf that was pulled out during quarantine COVID.
You said that this company is something that really speaks to your legacy.
Yes.
And is emblematic of the empire that you're building. You're obviously someone who is incredibly creative. I read that your mother called you unstoppable, and someone who has a real gift and energy that you give the world. How is this business a reflection of that, particularly when you think about what it means for it to be a business and to scale it,
Yes.
and the very, very ambitious plans that you have?
Yes. Well, first of all, different is better than better. I can't just teach that. I can't just tell you that. I live that. And so there's a lot of good ice cream in the world. It's what we call in business a red ocean. A lot of you guys know what that means. There's just a lot of ice cream. But what makes it different? I was inspired by Cracker Jacks, which is an American brand that is like caramel corn, and they used to have a little prize inside of it for kids, and I'd fight my brother for that prize. You like it too? Or for people that don't know Cracker Jacks, you know the cereal box, and then you have the prize, and you're fighting your siblings or your cousins because you want that prize inside of the cereal box. So I said, what if I had a Smize surprise inside of our ice cream? And it is right now it's a truffle chunk amazing cookie dough, like, you know, cookie dough, we have one this big in some ice cream. So you're digging, baby, digging to get that cookie dough prize. We also have liquid pools of luscious chocolate at the bottom, so many different surprises at the bottom. So that's one. The other thing is, for me, business has to mean more than just revenues. And I've always, we didn't even talk about it, but I had my own foundation with my mom called T-Zone, which is mentoring young girls. And I wanted to take that to the next level with Smize Cream. So right now we're in the process of starting our mentoring program and mentoring young people, particularly women, to reach their dreams, to dig, baby dig, work hard, get it, to get that prize and get that dream. So that's very important to me. And then in terms of legacy, I want to see women even more empowered. I went to a meeting here in Abu Dhabi about Smize Cream because we are going to be an international brand sooner than most American-born brands because of my reach internationally and my passion for a global community. And I'm in this meeting, and I expected to walk in and see all men at the table. I walked in, there were like 9 people, 1 man, all women, badass women from the Gulf. And as an American, I was just like, what? Wait, I'm gonna be fighting and helping this to happen, but it is already happening. So we are on the precipice of this beautiful thing that is already happening. And so when it comes to my legacy, I talk a lot more. When it comes to my legacy, I want people to say to their kids, you know that business lady who's opened doors for so many people and fighting for women's rights and kids and doing all this and has this ice cream empire? You know she was a model. And I want that kid to say, what? I don't care, Mommy. Just give me the ice cream. And where's the Smize surprise? That's what I want my legacy to be. The fashion is on the way to being so much more and opening up the door to so much more, and to have a legacy in a business that stands for more than just making money and making smiles and making tummies smile and happy. I want to make dreams come true too.
I love that intersection in which, you know, you brought your purpose into this business in such a powerful, monumental way, but also with that fun and that creativity, which is so engaging for you. As we wrap up, 2 last questions for you. All of us navigate the roller coaster of business, the highs and sometimes the very low lows. If you look at the Tyra Banks of 10 years ago, in business versus who's sitting here today, what's been the greatest evolution or change in terms of your journey as a business person, or a lesson that's been fundamental to you in really shaping where you are now?
I'll talk about one of my weaknesses, and it is a weakness that I continue to have. As much as I'm comfortable here speaking with you, as comfortable as I am speaking to these beautiful women in this crowd here today, and some guys, I see some guys too, hi. I have social anxiety. I don't have social anxiety on a large scale. I can stand in the biggest soccer football stadium and talk. But when it comes to one-on-one intimate, like cocktail party, walking around, hey, how you doing? Yeah, the weather's nice. I freeze. And I think it has stood in the way of accomplishing more, because if you don't get out, if you don't network, if you don't meet more people to get closer to your dream coming true, your success is slower. And I know you're like, Tyra, you're public person and stuff, but still getting out of the house, picking up the phone, asking somebody to mentor you is how you get to your dreams faster. And I am trying to do that now more.
Taking yourself outside of that.
Outside of just being in the house, in my pajamas, like doing my emails and, making things happen. Yeah, you can make certain things happen that way, but you have to get out and get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, no, and that is fundamental. I always say when it feels uncomfortable and you get that feeling in your chest, that to me is the sign that I should be doing it.
So true.
My last question for you, I love what you said before in terms of what you want your legacy to be, in terms of the impact and as a business person, but also what it represents in so many ways. If you were, though, to think about your career and how you've navigated it, what's the one takeaway that you hope people would bring with them from the Tyra Banks story? What's the moral of that story as a business person and an entrepreneur and someone who wants to continue to do incredible things in the world?
Try to do what you love. And I know that's not always easy. I bet some of you guys are in businesses that you think are just gonna make a lot of money. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But what else can you add to that business so that when you are waking up that first day of the week, you are jumping out of bed so excited? That last night of the weekend when you're going to bed, you keep waking up and checking that alarm clock like, come on, morning, I can't wait to either get on the Zoom or get in that office or get on that plane or make that meeting happen. And so the love is extra special. When I was a model, I did not like taking pictures. It was all right. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I have to. But that runway was everything to me. It made me so happy. It was my Tyresha that got to act a damn fool and enjoy. So that gave me pleasure. Me being in the ice cream business, I am obsessed with ice cream. My first night here, I downloaded Talabat. Y'all know about Talabat? Am I saying it right? Talabat. And I got 15 pints of ice cream to see how the ice cream was tasting over here, because just because it's a brand name that you know doesn't mean it's gonna taste the same, and some of them didn't. I'm not saying names. They need to watch their quality control. But I'm obsessed with it. It makes me happy. 3 times a week, my family has an ice cream party. They think it's just fun, but really we're benchmarking. It makes me happy. So try to find what makes you happy as you also bring those revenues into your pockets to change the course of your careers so that your generations behind you can enjoy the fruits of that labor, but can also work too. We don't want no rich spoiled kids. Make your kids work.
Well, Tyra, thank you. Thank you so much for those insights, and congratulations on all your success. We'll be excited to see what's ahead with some ice cream. As if I didn't need any other incentive to open a pint of ice cream, I'm very much looking forward to trying yours. So congratulations, and thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Tyra. Everyone, thank you.